That's what I said. Also, technically, if you're counting Amy and then you're counting the judicial, isn't it 5? Oh. Also, how many senators did you say we had? Was that like seats or current? It said how many senators do we have? We don't have. That's why I was like, no, not true. Was a trick question. Why does it keep showing every time I open it? I am correcting you. Are you guys ready to go? For the last time? It makes me sad, Jared. So we're good? Good. Okay, you ready to take minutes like you've never taken minutes before? Okay. I'm gonna start. You ready?
All right. Good evening, everyone. The time is 7 p.m., and I hereby call this meeting of the Student Senate to order. We'll begin with a roll call. When I call your name, please say here or present. Moran. Rahman. Rolls. Reinhardt. Marcus. Jones. Pelzer. O'Connor. Shin. Utica. Moisango. Nievenhoven. Kekun. Azan. Kameyer. Moyer. Hartley. Agarwal. Shamsai. Verriger. Papa Nicolau. Snyder. Momini. James. Bailey. Dugan. Neal. Sloop. Pursley. And Cronin. With that, we do have quorum for this evening. We'll move first into our Senate program this evening, the State of the Student Body with President Hirsch. Thank you very much. Actually, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Sergeant at Arms.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I suppose 2 years of practice was not enough for me. And with that, we'll move into tonight's Senate program, the State of the Student Body with President Hirsch. I would remind senators as a courtesy to close or mostly close your laptops as a sign of respect for the president.
Good evening. This past year, student government has undergone a transformation unlike anything we've seen before. This time, 1 year ago, we were an organization plagued by unfilled positions, unnecessary efficiencies, and a lack of an identity. The spark of passion for service was all but extinguished. At the beginning of our term, we faced a fork in the road with two starkly different paths ahead of us. The path of least resistance was to continue the status quo, to keep doing the same things and expecting better results. Or we could instead choose to realign ourselves once again with our core mission of service, advocacy, and empowerment of the student body. Choosing the latter would mean more work, more sleepless nights, and certainly more heartburn. With those two paths clearly laid out in front of us, together we chose the path of most resistance. The maxim that the things in life worth doing are typically the hardest remains as true as ever. But any great resurgence takes more than just two people. It's never been about the vice president and me. This sort of top-to-bottom transformation requires a cohesive team willing to volunteer their time and talents towards a cause greater than themselves. That's why, on day one, we had a full cabinet of passionate nominees, eager and ready to refine their roles and their committees. That's right, a full cabinet. Even after expanding positions to be co-directors and bringing on new roles like the Director of Residence Life and the Director of First Year Experience, we had and still have today a full cabinet of committed and passionate leaders. I'd like to take a moment to individually recognize the cabinet members who have worked selflessly for the student body this year. Claire Hosch, Emily Bolin, Kit O'Driscoll, Abby Bergstrom, Adam Harrington, Beatrice Baker, Braden Fells, Holly Schmidt, Monet Butler, Colby Brandt, Sophia de Lima Barbosa, Shristi Nandal, Surma Rasha, Eric Brown, Eric Jurdis, Chase Anderson, Alex Palin, Rachel Frost, Evan Martinez, and Bob Carver. If you would please stand and be recognized. Please, round of applause. But a strong executive branch is nothing without an equally committed legislative branch. We've had great leaders in Senate this year, the kind of leadership Senate hasn't seen in a long time. Alex Momini as Speaker and Josie Persley as Vice Speaker. I think they deserve a round of applause. Incredible work, guys. It's been an honor working alongside each of you, and I could not be more grateful for who you chose to be your leaders. And even beyond that, I could not be more thankful for every senator in this room, and I wholeheartedly mean that. It's been a pleasure working with you all this year. For those that are returning, I'm so excited to have you back. For those leaving, I'm sad that you're going. All of whom continue to show up and do the work that counts, even when it means long nights and missed Canvas assignments. I know we've all been there. You all provide the drive behind everything that we do. Again, our success as an organization aren't tied to any one individual, branch, committee. We've been a cohesive team this year, regardless of what your title may be. Make no mistake that our accomplishments are collective, because when we win, it means the student body does too. I'd like to take a moment and recognize some of the most impactful ways we've served the student body this year. The first one is bringing concerts back to campus, the concert that'll happen in Hilton Coliseum next semester, and the one subsequently at Jack Trice in the spring. Bringing a new restaurant to the MU, our Know Your Leaders Town Hall series, our parking ticket relief program, helping international students land jobs. And I want to go back to the international students. Think about this. You're an international student at Iowa State University. You go to a career fair. You wait in line sometimes 30, 40 minutes to talk to a recruiter just to find out that you're automatically disqualified. We have now removed that barrier for international students on campus. That's a pretty incredible thing. Roommate compatibility form, message the mayor, our polling program, fighting to make Prep Week a real break, our food insecurity task force, affordability task force, sustainability advancements, expanded parking at Freddie Court, created new positions to represent more students, raised awareness of resources to prevent sexual violence, doubled the legislative advocacy from last year, began new partnerships to bring students and key stakeholders closer together, hosted countless events that contributed meaningfully to the student experience, made historic investments in the events and resources that matters to students. These are only a few of the steps that we've taken to better serve the student body just this year. These wins were only possible because of renewed culture of professionalism, a shared identity of service, and record reach and retention. Now, 1 year, 365 days may sound like a long time. Let me tell you, it's not. In student government, we've had an incredibly finite length of time to accomplish our goals here. As I said this before, that's the burden of leadership, planting trees where you yourself may never be able to sit under their shade. This year was never about doing the easy things. It was about taking the path of most resistance, no matter how long it took. Our great student government comeback hasn't just been about serving the students of today, but also the students of tomorrow. Having served as president of the student body continues to be an incredible honor for me, which I'll forever be thankful for. And more than that, I will forever be thankful for all the work you've done this year to make the student experience better at Iowa State University. After a year of blood, sweat, and sleepless nights, I'm proud to report for the final time that the state of our government is strong. Thank you all.
Thank you, President Hirsch. With that, Senator Zahn, go ahead.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for your leadership. You mentioned about task force, right? A couple of task force. Can you talk about the accomplishment they achieved? For example, food insecurity task force. On paper, they look great, but what are the things that specifically they accomplished?
I mean, I would direct specifically task force questions in the business of that to Bob Carver when it comes to affordability. I know they've had a lot of great ideas, and again, it's still up and coming, and I hope that the next administration continues that forward. As far as the food insecurity task force, I know we have our director, our nonprofit coordinator. Again, those would be great questions to ask. But one of the big things that we've done tackling our food insecurity needs was that parking ticket relief program. Again, this has been one of the most successful programs we've ever launched, and so the problem that we identified with SHOP is it's not just necessarily about getting enough money and getting enough food to have that available for students. It's also about volunteers. And so the way that that program came about was, okay, you have this ticket. It's an unexpected ticket. You weren't planning on getting it. And $60 is a lot of money. That is not an insignificant amount of money. And so now, instead of just having to pay it off, you can go work at SHOP. You're supporting food insecurity on campus. And it's a great way of also tackling that affordability aspect as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Other questions, or are we okay? No.
Seeing none, thank you very much. With that, we'll move directly into open forum. Open forum shall serve as an opportunity for students to speak about any issues relevant to the student body. If there's anyone here tonight for open forum, I would ask that you approach the podium at this time. All right, seeing no one here tonight for open forum, we'll move into adopting this evening's agenda. Are there any amendments before we do so, starting with Senator Kammeier?
Motion to table indefinitely 2025-3-034F.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to indefinitely table item 034F. Are there any objections? Seeing none, it shall be tabled. And we're now back on the agenda as a whole. Are there any further amendments before we adopt this evening's agenda? Speaker Momini.
Because this is our last meeting of our term, I motion to waive first read on 2025-3-003 SR, moving it to the bottom of general orders.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to waive first read on item 003 SR. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing none, first read shall be waived. Once again, we're back on the agenda as a whole. Any further amendments or motion to adopt? Moved and seconded to adopt this evening's agenda. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, it shall be adopted. We'll move into approval of the previous Senate minutes. Is there a motion to do so? Moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any objection to doing so? Any objections to doing so? Seeing none, they shall be approved. And we'll move into committee reports, starting with the Rules Committee and Speaker Momini.
Last meeting of the term. Last Thursday, we went through the bylaws again. We held an investigation, and we will see that bill later. As far as the bylaw updates go, hopefully you reached out with questions beforehand, but if not, I look forward to some good debate and questions on that regard. I'm just going to keep it kind of short. Everything that rules has for you, we will see. And then my final thing is thank you to my dedicated rules committee. I came with a lot of tasks for you guys and some very high expectations to come along with those. So thank you guys for sticking it out and helping me basically not only turn our 68-something page document into a little short version for everybody, but for redoing them with me as well. Thank you.
With that, the floor is open for any questions or comments for the Rules Committee. Seeing none, we'll move directly into Finance.
Good evening, all. Not much for me tonight. You saw we tabled one of the bills that we were going to vote on tonight. That's because we found out in committee that that event is not until the fall. So that group is going to come back in the fall and submit a funding request then. We also had some line item transfers. And as you guys know, those only have to go through finance. So we saw those today because we met before this meeting. And it was just some last minute cleanup to our operating accounts and stuff for student legal before the session ends here. And I too want to say thank you to the committee members. They put in a lot of great work this year, all throughout the year. A lot of late nights with annual allocations. You know, they know that it's a lot of work, and I appreciate them and all the work they did there. Thank you, guys.
The floor is open for any questions or comments for the Finance Committee. Seeing none, we'll move directly into PR.
How's it going, everyone? The last PR event is tomorrow from 10 to 1:30 in front of the library. We're going to be serving pizza. For the first hour, it will be breakfast pizza, and then the remaining hours will be just regular pizza. We made sure to get plenty of pizza for every student, so please come on by if you guys want free stuff. We do need help from at 9:30 to go set up. So basically, we would just take a couple tables, a couple pieces of our merch, and bring it over to the south lawn of the library. So if you guys can help out at 9:30, please reach out to Eric, and he'll get you guys squared away.
With that, the floor is open on PR. Seeing no questions or comments, we'll move on to the IDEA Committee.
Yeah, I don't have much at all, but I would like to thank my committee members for all the hard work we put on for the IDEA Town Hall. I know it's been a rough past few months with IDEA Committee, but again, I would like to thank everyone. I had a great opportunity serving as IDEA Director, and I enjoyed my time here, and I'm glad to be returning as a senator.
Any questions or comments for IDEA? Seeing none, next is the Events Committee.
Hi, you guys. So inauguration is next Monday, so please come. Please be ready to celebrate. I want to say thank you so much to my committee members. You guys were just so helpful through everything, and I really appreciate it. And I also want to thank everyone that helped out. We put on some really big, awesome, amazing events this year. So I want to say thank you to everyone that came and volunteered their time. Thanks, guys.
Are there any questions for the Events Committee, excuse me. Seeing none, we'll move directly on to Local Affairs.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank my committee members for all the hard work they've put in this year. I couldn't have done it without them. And then I also just want to take a moment to recognize that the City of Ames has updated their website, so it's more user-friendly. It looks great. So if you have the chance to take a look at that, go ahead and look up City of Ames and then press the website. And it looks great, so shout out to everyone at the city there. But thank you again to my committee. It'll be a great year next year.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none for Local Affairs, we'll move on to Sustainability. With that, the floor is open for any questions or comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to Health and Wellness.
Hey guys, I don't have too much. The safety walk is happening April 24th at 7:30, and we're going to meet outside the MU right out here by the fountain. If you're interested, I'd love to have you. It's open to any and all. Please show up. And then I also wanted to mention that there is a Styled for Success event on April 25th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the Cyclone Support Central Room in Parks Library. So that offers free haircuts, free resumes, resume reviews, business attire, headshot photos, exit counseling, and student employment consultations. You just need to make an appointment, and those are all free services. So you should definitely look into that if you need anything on that list. And lastly, I did just want to thank my committee as well. They've been super helpful this year. With any events that we put on, they were always willing to come up, to show up, volunteer, help out, whatever I needed. They were always willing to answer my questions and do whatever was asked of them. So huge shout out to you guys. Thank you.
Any questions for health and wellness? Seeing none, we can move on to the legislative ambassadors.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you all for such a wonderful year. I'd like to thank my committee. We've made a really lot of good progress on the Legislative Ambassadors Committee. We doubled our advocacy days in Des Moines, made really good progress on the workforce grant, and we'll get a proposal submitted this fall. And then also I would like to just say thank you to everyone who attended the Innovation Beyond the Classroom event with the Board of Regents. That event would not have happened without you all and showcasing what makes Iowa State so special. But I would just like to say thank you again to everyone, and yeah.
Any questions or comments for the ambassadors? Seeing none, we can go ahead and move into that other category. This is an opportunity to speak about any committee that is not otherwise represented on tonight's agenda. Seeing no miscellaneous updates, pardon me, sir, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. So I only had a short stint here, but I want to refer back to Senator Azan's question. You'll get a chance to review our final document with a lot of our potential initiatives that we will be passing on to the next term of student government. There was a lot of brainstorming done in the short time that we had this semester, especially with the movement of the nonprofit coordinator in between half of the term. But again, I would really like to thank Braden Fells and my main committee member, Senator Bailey, and also recently Senator Neal. We've made a lot of good brainstorming ideas, reached out to a lot of different contact groups around campus, and that final document for your review will be available soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further miscellaneous committee updates? Seeing none, we can go ahead and move into comments from the judicial branch. We have a member of the court present. If not, we'll go ahead and move into comments from our advisor.
Hello, everyone. Just want to, on behalf of the advisors, congratulate all of you on a very successful year. Job well done. And then the other quick announcement I need to make is Amy Shaw, your administrative assistant and part of the advising team. We'll be working on transitioning permissions next week on some of our information systems, as well as the locks on the office doors. So those of you who are returning to a position, there may be a short delay where something may happen and you might lose access. If that happens, make sure you follow up with Amy, and she'll make sure that she gets that corrected as she works through that. And that'll be early next week. Thank you.
With that, the floor is open for any questions or comments for our advisor. Seeing none, we can go ahead and move into comments from the executive branch with President Hirsch.
You guys already heard me talk. I don't have anything else. Just great job this year. It's been a pleasure working with you all, so well done.
Any questions or comments for the executive? Seeing none, we'll move into comments from the Election Commission.
Hey everyone, not a ton tonight. Basically, we're continuing this week with our code review for next year, just get a head start. The trophy has shipped, and it will not be going to Iowa. We'll be staying here, so we're currently looking for a spot, we're seeing where that's going to go. I am hoping that it's here before inauguration, but I can't promise there. If there is, we will find a spot to present it to everybody. But there's no promises there because it's already been read that day. So other stuff. Oh, yeah, it was a great election. And then today we just closed the special election. So we got about, I want to say 214 people voting the special election. I won't officially announce the results just because we haven't certified it yet, but I will be certifying it over the course of this week. If you want to know the results, you can come and ask me. But Yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for the commission? Seeing none, we can go ahead and move into our business for this evening, starting with special orders, the first item of which I'll go ahead and yield to Speaker Momini.
All right, starting with Special Order 2025-3-011SG, seating a member to the Iowa State Daily Media Publication Board in the absence of myself with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Okay, so this is for seating a member to the Iowa State Daily Board, and I yield the rest of my time to Quinn to talk for himself.
To be on this side of the room for a little bit of change of pace here at the end of the session. And I appreciate President Hirsch for nominating me to this post as well. As many of you were made aware last week, we do have a seat on the Iowa State Daily Publication Board. And that's not something that we were aware of previously, but I think now that we know that there's a vacancy that we have the ability to fill, I think it's incredibly important that we put someone to make sure we have a strong liaison with the Iowa State Daily who can continue to answer your questions. And I think now is the opportunity we have to do that for someone who will continue to serve through the summer months, which is a commitment I'm more than happy to make. As many of you may know about the publication board, at least my understanding of it, you do not have say over what is published in the Daily. And I think that's incredibly important that student government stays separate from the editorial decisions that the Daily is making. They should have the ability to publish whatever they see fit outside of the influence of organizations like student government. But I think this board is especially important because you have the ability to provide student input and you have the ability to provide oversight. And so that's things more so process-oriented. It's asking questions so we can better understand the 5-step editing process that was described last week. And the major component of that as well is financial. And so that's one of the biggest things of making sure that we have someone in place who is asking the questions that Senate has about how and where money is being spent with the Iowa State Daily. And I really think whoever is in this position absolutely ought to be a liaison. So it's not meant to be one person having their opinion in the room. It's meant to be someone who's interfacing with all of you and having an extended period to answer the questions, many of which we unfortunately weren't able to get to last week because we have a finite period of time. As far as my experiences when it comes to financial oversight, this is going into my 4th year in student government. I've served as vice president 2 of those years. I was speaker prior to that. I'm very involved in our finances, and so I've for a long time had a lot of insight into how student money is spent logistically, the philosophy behind how we spend student money. I've served on asset for quite a number of years as well, and that involves financial oversight of nonprofit entities in the Ames community and how can we make sure that we're spending money on the most units of service that are the highest quality, that are the lowest cost for students. And also in addition to that, I've served 3 years on the student fee committee. And so that's the committee that decides how much you all have to pay in terms of student fees. And so for the past 3 years, I've also been a strong advocate of making sure that we're supporting these services that are important to students, but at the same time, we're making sure students don't have to pay more than they have to, and we're not burdening the college experience with undue expenses. And so I know in a financial sense what questions to ask, how to convey your questions, and how to make sure that we're preventing any miscommunications between us and the Iowa State Daily. We have open lines of communication. And so for that, it's a little bit about me, a little bit about the position to hopefully give you a better sense of the publication board, and I see quite a few questions that I'm more than happy to answer.
With that, the floor is open for questions, starting with Senator Zahn.
Okay, so the first question is regarding the sponsor of the bill. Well, I mean, Speaker Momini can answer that too, or maybe Vice Speaker personally too. Can you specify the set contract date? Because I think this is misleading right now as it is right now. Can you mention the time period? What is the time period that we are talking?
Can I point of information? So the reason why it's until the contract ends. So right now the contract, as it's stated right now, would end in the summer of 2026. But in case like something else comes up or the contract is extended for whatever reason, it would just be until the contract ends. And
Okay.
I think that that'd be the
Okay,
right
because I'm still
terminology to use.
confused in terms of, as far as I remember, it was a 5-year contract and we are starting in the 4th year, right, with ISU Daily. My major concern right now is if the contract is for until 2026, I think it's better from my personal values to let the Senate decide for the next term whether they want to continue with that person or not. They might have a different recommendation. They might have a different candidate for this position. That's my personal opinion on this, because we cannot make a decision for someone for the other senator. This is the last session that we have, right? So unless, if we can define the contract timeline here, that will be great, because this is a lot of time commitment, I will say. I know you're gonna be great, you will do great things, but I'm not feeling comfortable making the decision for the new senators. That's supposed to be their decision, you know. Some of you guys are returning back, some of you are not returning. So it's better for them to make the decision for the 2026 term year instead of us making the decision, because this is the last session. That being said, if you guys are comfortable, can we amend this to mention the time period? Or do you want to keep that time period for the whole contract year?
Would you like to yield time to somebody to answer that question?
Maybe Vice Speaker Percy can answer.
I feel like it's pretty clear right now in saying duration of said contract. I mean, we could write until the contract ends in 2026, but I think that's kind of implied in the way that it's written currently.
Okay, but this is the last session, right, for student government? There will be a new senators next session.
Correct.
And you want to make the decision right now, given that this is the last session?
The bill currently states that it's the end of said contract. That's a decision for the Senate to make currently, because this bill is up right now.
Senator Zahn, would you mind if I added one small piece of context to that?
Yes.
I know we talked about this a little bit prior, but yes, this is the last meeting of this current Senate. Then we'll have 2 more meetings before the summer term, after which we won't have a meeting until August. And so for those of you who have been through the first 2 meetings of the sessions previously, we'll have 4 floor elections. We'll put up 20+ cabinet nominees. We'll have all sorts of other nominations, different committees and things that are urgent to fill. And so I do think, from my personal perspective, I find it incredibly important to make sure we have someone on this board over the summer months, because, if we're aware that there's an opportunity for student representation, I'd like to make sure that is filled. And then if the new session, once we get back in August, if they have someone else they would like to nominate for the board, some sort of change they would like to make, I think that's definitely a conversation we could have.
Yes.
But I think having representation when we know it exists is incredibly important.
Yes, I love the idea. So are you comfortable if you put a time period on it until August? So that you can work, you can sit in the committee during the summer, and then when we have new senators, they can bring up this bill again and decide if they want to keep the same person or they want to nominate a different person.
I would be more than happy to serve on the publication board for as long as the Senate deems it appropriate. Even though I won't be vice president, I will be returning in a different capacity, and I'm committed for as long as you're willing to allow me to serve.
Okay. So I'm going to ask again, Vice Speaker Persley, what do you think on this? I mean, you are part of the Rules Committee, so I'm assuming you actually went through all the rules. That's why I'm yielding time to you, because that's your decision to make as a Rules Committee chair.
Personally, I personally think that we should leave it as is. It does not violate our rules.
Okay. So you think that making the decision for the new senators that's supposed to be doing this decision is okay as per the rules?
I personally think we should leave it as is.
Okay, I yield.
Moving on to Senator Rawls.
On to a different thing. I would like to propose a friendly amendment to only say the third session, sorry. At the very top. Top left.
Do I accept that from the position of chair? I accept. Do you yield? All right, moving on to Senator Iona Dimoff.
I just want to say thank you, Vice President Margaret, for stepping up to this position. I am very confident you'll be a great liaison, and I yield.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Moving on to Senator Agarwal.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know if this is okay or not, but I would just like to say that the contract that was made 2 years ago in 2022, almost 3 years ago, also doesn't, I mean, ask upcoming senators if they wanted that contract or not. So I feel like with his abilities and the sheer experience that Quinn has, he'd be a great fit and a great representation of the Iowa State student government for this. And then I had a question for you, Quinn, for this position. What would you describe yourself as in one word?
Oh, it's the one question I was not ready for. One word, I would say committed. Thank you, Rash.
With that, moving on to Vice Speaker Persley.
I do agree. I think that Vice President Margaret is very committed, and I'm excited to see him come back as a senator next year. And so I think he really will be able to serve in the correct capacities for this job, because he'll be able to do it in the summer and continue to be here next year. And I'm entirely confident in his abilities to do this. And I think he's a great pick. I yield.
Object.
Do you withdraw? All right, moving on to Senator Snyder.
First off, let me lead with, I have no qualms about qualifications for Quinn for this position. Frankly, I think you'd be a great fit. But I agree with Senator Azan that the timeline of this bill takes away the choice of the next incoming senators, even though most of us are coming back. I think that we should leave that decision, or whoever is put on that board, to the incoming Senate. Would you agree? I would maybe pose that question to Vice Speaker Persley. Sorry, yeah, I was looking at you. My bad.
You know, I definitely think that it's an important question. It's a difficult question. You know, it's just a member to the Iowa State Daily Media Publication Board, so it might not even be a senator that would be sat to this board. So, you know, I really think that how we have it right now is how I think it should be done, but
Okay.
that's just
And-
my personal opinion.
No, you're okay. And with that in mind, can you scroll down so we can see the ordered clause? I think that instead of duration of said contract, we can say until a representative or someone seeks to fill or appoint a replacement, or someone else seeks to fill the position. That way, the incoming Senate can fill it and change representatives if they so seek to, and it gives us that choice in the upcoming session. I'll take that as an amendment to the bill or friendly.
Object.
There has been an amendment and an objection. So now, I'm gonna cry. Now we're gonna go into a debate. Please don't put that in the minutes. Now we're gonna go into a debate on the objection of the amendment to amend the bill to add a specified time limit. I don't remember exactly how Senator Snyder put that.
I can put it until the Senate sees fit to appoint a replacement, or someone else seeks to fill the position.
Are there, I don't know who even said object first.
Kammeier was the first.
All right, Senator Kammeier, would you like to state the nature of your objection?
Yeah, I would just like to echo what Vice President Margaret said earlier. Okay. So I understand the idea of appointing like someone later, but if we like wait until August, again, I think as it is right now, like we should keep someone on this committee, and I think it makes sense to make the decision now rather than waiting. I would also like to point out that this is in presidential nomination. This was the decision of President Hirsch, and we should consider that as well, but I'm keeping my objection.
All right, seeing that there was not a withdrawing of the objection, we'll move into debate on the amendment. Oh, yes. Starting with Senator Azan.
Okay, I just want to clarify one more thing. in this student government, Quinn and Martin are two guys that I love the most. Okay, and this is literally they are my best friend. But having said that, this is kind of like a tough situation for me because I'm not just saying by myself. I'm just saying I'm respecting the position that I am right now, okay? And as a senator, I think we should respect the position of this Senate, okay? On a moral and ethical values, that's the only reason that I'm saying that we should respect this and let the Senate decide. I know you're gonna do great. You have all the capabilities and all these things that need to accomplish the goals and present the student government the best way you can in the whole Senate. But I think we should respect the Senate and let the new senators decide if they want to continue with you or they want to decide a new senator or a new person to take this position. So just putting this in the bill will let the Senate think about it. It's not necessary they will bring this again, but at least it will give an opportunity for the senators to think about it if they want to reconsider or appoint a different person for the term period, for the next year or whatever. So, okay.
Do you yield?
I yield.
We'll move on to Senator Marcus.
I just want to start by saying I see where Senator Azan and Senator Snyder are coming from with this. I really do see the point of wanting to wait or wanting to add that deadline of August or September just so that way when all the new senators are seated and everything comes back around, they can have an option to try and get seated as a member themselves. However, I feel that the reason that it shouldn't be put as a deadline of August or September to then have him either get reelected or run against someone else and let someone else get elected into that seat and sat on the board. We just found out about this, so obviously having someone sit on it now is a really good idea. I hope you'd agree with that. And so I can see why you want it to be a deadline of August, but I feel at that point, we then have no one in student government other than Quinn, who at that time would have been on the board at all or known anything about it. And so then that then would make him the most qualified person for it anyway. And as everyone has said here, no one is going to disagree that Quinn is not hardworking. He's a very hardworking individual, and you yourself said that he's going to do a good job at this. So I just think that getting him on the board now and then taking that away from him in August or trying to, it just doesn't make sense to me because by then he'll be more qualified than he is now. I yield.
All right, moving on to Senator Snyder.
I just want to clarify, I totally support Quinn being on this board as soon as possible. I just think we should have an option to choose. So if you take out just until the duration of said contract, I would be happy. We don't have to add a limit or an ending to that position. I want you on this board. The fact that we know about it now it makes it all the more important that we can have someone and representation on it as soon as possible. So with that being said, I don't really have an issue with you. I think you're a really competent candidate. I like this bill. I like the fact that we're having representation. I just think that taking away the next session's ability to choose who should be on this board is a problem, even if it's an appointment. Thank you. I yield.
All right, and with that, Senator Dugan.
Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to say that this is a very interesting conversation. I think that Senator Schneider's compromise is really well thought out because, one, we can maintain constant communication with Iowa State Daily, but also we have the opportunity for next senators to come in and have an assessment. And I do agree that Quinn would probably be the most qualified. There's nothing wrong with, spring cleaning, or I guess end of summer cleaning. So I would agree with Schneider. I think changing the verbiage would leave the door open for an opportunity if need be. You never know, life happens. Hopefully nothing horrible, right? But I think it's a nice compromise to this, and then we don't have to be here all night. Thank you.
All right, with that, to Senator Garwal. Oopsies. Senator Ross?
I think one thing we need to think about here is Senate does not choose who gets on the board. This is an executive appointee. Senate gets to vote on the person, but we do not select who gets to sit on the board. It is the job of the president to appoint someone to this board. So it's just kind of take it or leave it at this point. So I do feel like Quinn would do a great job. And whilst we also represent the students, the president also does represent the students as well. And if he deems that this is in the best interest of student government and the students of Iowa State, I feel like we should respect that. I yield.
Do you withdraw? All right, then moving on to Senator Neal.
This is more of a point of information, but so in a second I'll yield to Vice Speaker Persley, but regardless of the language of the bill, is this something that the next administration could later amend or change regardless of how we word things in the bill now?
You would have to follow the procedure for removal of a committee member in the bylaws.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Senator Azan?
Okay, Acting Speaker, can you describe the process of removal? How many votes it required as per the bylaws?
If you give me 1 second, I will look it up in the bylaws and find it.
While she's doing that, do you have any other points?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to comment on Senator Rolls'
We're on a different motion.
Discussion. These things actually make it more complex because we also need to respect the cabinet, the new elected positions that we have. If we are taking this power from them, that is really bad in a bigger picture as a student government. That power supposed to be given to the right person. If the executive members want to nominate a different person, if that is the motivation of this to pass right now, that is not well intended, I will say. Because we should not, as a Senate, we should not take the power that's supposed to be given to the president and vice president to make a decision, to nominate someone. We should respect the power that is given to them by the Constitution and the bylaws that we have. Okay. Yes. With that, I will strongly oppose this, extending the time period until September is fine or August is fine, but beyond that, I think we should reconsider because that's supposed to be done by the new president and the vice president. I'm still waiting for the response from Josie.
Are you asking me?
Firstly, it's my understanding, I can think of one committee where the Senate could not undo the membership, and that's the fee committee. The Constitution designates the president and the finance director to sit on that committee. That's the only committee that I'm aware of that Senate, regardless of how you write the bill, would not have the ability to reseat someone to it later. That's at least my understanding of the rules. I've served on Rules Committee. I've served as Speaker 2 years as Vice President. It's my understanding that even if you were not to add this amendment, it would still be Senate's right at a later time to appoint someone else to that board.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The only concern I have, morally speaking and ethically speaking, this is not the right way of doing it. That's my personal opinion. I don't think everyone needs to agree with that, but my moral values does not let me make this and ignore this. So, okay. We're still waiting for the removal process.
Okay, since committees report to the speaker, it is similar to the nonfeasance process of a senator.
Okay, so I bet Quinn will not do anything that is non-feasant. So there is no other way of assigning a different person. The executive member saying there's another person who's more capable than Quinn. The question is directed to Jason.
I'm confused. What's your question?
So I bet Quinn will not do anything that can make him non-feasant. And so there is no other way of removing a person who is following all the protocols that is required. So the new executive cannot nominate a different person.
Can I point of information on this?
Yes.
So point of information based on, so Thyroid Board of Trustees is another one that we have a separate committee for, and it would be a 2/3 removal process of seated senators.
Sure.
I want to make sure, but I think, and again, acting speaker, personally, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the intent there is to say that the process would be the same. It is not to say that I would have to commit some kind of nonfeasance in order for you all to exercise that mechanism. Okay. So you all would be able to decide, we want someone else on this committee, we see someone better fit, whatever that might be. It would not have to be a nonfeasance of me not showing up to meetings, right?
Yeah, just to clarify, the new executive will have the power to nominate a different person if they want to?
That's a great question. That's my understanding, and then it would be up to the Senate at the time to consider that nomination.
If that's the case, then I can withdraw. I'm fine with that. If the new executive can nominate a different person, and if the Senate can vote in that favor too.
That at least would be my understanding.
Okay. Can you confirm from the rules perspective that is true? Okay. Can you confirm the new executive can nominate a different person? And the Senate can have the power to decide if they want to go with that new nomination. As per the Quinn understanding, that is true, but I want to confirm from rules perspective.
Can I point of information that too? So technically, the executive, and if the speaker decides to write that bill, can do that, and then they would have to rescind this bill, which is more than possible. We've done that before.
It would have to do with the contract and the current speaker and whether or not they would choose to author a bill.
Okay, so question for you again. Why we are taking the power that is assigned to the new president and vice president? What's the intention right now? Not adding the time period here. What is the intention overall for not adding the time period here?
Can I yield to you?
Can the speaker speak? Can the chair speak?
I yield to the acting chair.
All right, so this bill was written with the intent, because that was brought to my attention and the executive branch's attention, that there was a duty and a responsibility that we were obligated to fulfill. It was a contract that we signed. We agreed to seat a member to their committee, to their board for the duration of their contract term. That's why we set it to the duration of the contract term. We want to see a responsible, dedicated, and qualified candidate for the remainder of the term. Seeing as there hadn't been one on previous, we wanted to make sure that it was somebody who was willing and dedicated to the position and would do a good job for the rest of the term, is a returning senator, and will be on the next Senate. And while there is some discourse around if that's ethical or not, if you consider the actual contract that you're seating him to, it was a 5-year term when it started. There are very few senators that I can look at that were there with me at the time that their contract was originally passed. So
let me rephrase the question, because I think you're not answering my question. I'm saying that the power is given to the president and the vice president to do nomination for this position, right? Is this correct?
it is at the discretion of the president.
It is at the discretion of the president to make a nomination, right? And there's a new president for the next term. Why we are taking this power away from the new president?
We are not taking the power away. We are utilizing the power that the current president has.
But this is the end of the session.
The president is still the president. President Hirsch is sitting right here, still acting president, and it is in his powers.
Yes, and I agree with that, but we are putting that power beyond the term that is he was elected.
I can make that argument for any bill or piece of legislation that we pass. All right, there's been a call to question. On the motion of the amendment of the bill, the amendment was to restructure the bill to add a designated limit or to take off the wording that says for the duration of the contract. That is the amendment. Sure, works for me. All right, we are voting on the amendment, not on the bill as a whole. We are voting on the amendment to remove the phrasing of the set duration of the contract term. A vote in yes would be to remove that. A vote in no would be to not remove that and keep it how it is. So would an abstain, or you all may call for, UC, so. All right, there's been a roll call vote. Give me a minute to figure out Quinn's computer, please. Quinn, how hard will this be if I write it down on a piece of paper instead of?
Go for it.
We can figure it out
Go
later?
for it.
Okay, good stuff. All right. Into the vote now. Iona Dimoff. No. Moran. No. Rahaman. No. I'm sorry, I think I butchered that. Rolls. No. Reinhardt. Marcus? No. Jones? No. Pelzer? No. O'Connor? No. Shin? No. Utica? No is to leave it as it is. Yes is to change it to Senator Snyder's suggestion. Moisango? Yes. Nievenhoven? No. Kekung? Yes. Azan? Yes. Kameyer? No. Moyer? No. Hartley? No. Agarwal? No. Shamsai? No. Verriger? Papaniklau? Yes. Snyder?
Yes.
James? No. Bailey? No. Dugan? Neal? No. Sloop? No. Persley? No. Cronin? Moving back to Reinhardt? Did I miss anybody? With a vote of 7 to 21 to 2, I believe this motion fails. Okay, Quinn's shaking his head, it fails. All right, there's been a motion and a second to consider the bill as a whole. Clarifying, yes would pass the bill, no would fail the bill, abstain would also fail the bill. And with that, we will move into closing announcements with Vice Speaker Persley.
I think that you should vote as you see fit on the bill as a whole.
There's been a call for. Alrighty, moving into a roll call vote. Starting with Iona Dimoff. Yes. Moran? Yes. Rahaman? Yes. Rawls? Yes. Reinhardt? Yes. Marcus? Yes. Jones? Yes. Pelzer? Yes. O'Connor? Yes. Shin? Yes. Utica? Yes. Moisanga? Nieuwenhoven? Kekung? Azan? Kameyer? Moyer? Hartley? Agarwal? Shamsai? Verriger? Papaniklau? Snyder? James? Bailey? Dugan? Neal? Sloop? Pursley? Cronin? One moment. Seating bills are underneath special order. They do not require first read. All right, with that, with a vote of 29 to 0 to 1, this motion passes. Congratulations.
All right, thank you all for your patience. We appreciate that. So if we can all be seated in here just a moment, we'll move into our next special order. That is 2025-3-001SL, censure of Senator Justin Moran. And so just as a little piece of context for the Senate, this goes through four distinct stages of the hearing. There's not an opening comments for this. And so firstly, the author or representative of the Rules Committee will have 10 minutes to present their recommendations and arguments. The, quote, accused presents their defense for up to 15 minutes. There will be a rebuttal from the Rules Committee or the representative for up to 5 minutes. And then the remainder of that time, up until 45 minutes, will be spent on just general debate from the Senate. And so with that, whoever the Rules Committee has nominated can present their recommendations and arguments for up to 10 minutes. This time is yours.
I am presenting this censure as a neutral party of the Rules Committee. I did not vote on this bill. I am not a voting member of Rules unless there is a tie. So to present you with the facts, as you can see in the whereas clause, this is the result of an investigation that has resulted in censure per the bylaws. The options that Rules Committee is permitted when a second investigation occurs includes a report that the actions of said senator were insignificant to the Senate, a censure bill or a removal bill. The Rules Committee decided unanimously to provide the Senate with the censure. The censure was due to Senator Moran not attending office hours on the weeks of March 7th to the 11th, March 10th to the 14th, and March 24th to the 28th. Senator Moran also missed a working meeting and a Senate meeting as well as a committee meeting, all of these being unexcused on March 26th. These occurred a little bit over 2 nonfeasances. And when 2 nonfeasances occur, a rules investigation is immediately followed. In our second session, Senator Moran also had a following rules his first rules investigation, which is why we were provided with the limited options per the bylaws. The first rules investigation resulted in no action being taking place other than a conversation between Senator Moran, myself, and Vice Speaker Pursley, into which we addressed ways that we could help Senator Moran, areas that he felt he needed help with and that we could provide him help with, and the next step forward. So after these two, that's how we got to our censure bill. And that was the decision of the Rules Committee. I am racking my brain to remember anything. I'm sorry, I'm really been thrown through a loop here. So the censure is really just a result of the bylaws, our procedure, and our policies being broken. This is how they work. These were the options that we had. And with that, I will leave it to Senator Moran and the Senate.
Senator Moran, you can have up to 15 minutes. Are you asking to yield time? My understanding is yes. That would be part of the presentation of your defense as you deem appropriate.
I yield my time to Astragopa.
Will you turn that off?
Oh, yeah.
I really thought Justin would have something to say. I didn't think I'd be going up this early, but my name's Asher Gopa. I used to be in student government for a minute. I'm here to speak on behalf of Justin Moran, who is the victim of, not the victim, okay, the recipient of this censure bill. Justin Moran from Gurnee, Illinois, 21, weighing in at 180 pounds, benches 225. Justin just tries, guys. Like, why? Why would you do this to him? He's a good person, but sometimes he just forgets. Like, who doesn't? Like, don't y'all procrastinate sometimes? And yeah, that's Justin Moran for me. Y'all should really debate the censure bill for the full 45 minutes, not gonna lie, because Justin Moran is that important to the Senate, and that's why he's coming back next semester. Oh, he's not coming back next semester. Why would you ever do this to Justin Moran? Great guy. He hasn't done anything other than skipping a bunch of office hours. I was gonna make a serious part, but I didn't know all of his charges. like I was gonna say something, but yeah, y'all should have nurtured Justin in a way, but I didn't know he skipped 3 weeks of. Oh no. Well, it kind of sucks that you're doing it on his last day of Senate. Like, I mean, it should have been done a lot earlier. If, but seriously, guys, just vote no on this. Let's have a good year for Justin, because he showed up to all these other meetings, and just vote no. He tried his best. He put in the work this year. Just vote no on this bill. Thank you, Justin. Do you have anything else to say on this?
Yeah, I am. I'm totally innocent. I'm not. All right, I yield.
And Senator Moran, just for my own sake, you have 13 more minutes. You are finished with the presentation of your defense. I'm just double checking. All right. That is up to you. I am not forcing you to talk for longer, but if you are finished.
I can go on a little more if you want. Okay. Yeah, I attended office hours for most of the year, so I think that's pretty good. And yeah, that's why you should vote no. Thank you.
All right, and so if that, we'll go back to Speaker Momney representing the Rules Committee for up to 5 minutes of rebuttal.
Somebody please motion if I start talking too fast. All right, for one, This is a result of our bylaws procedural process. As I explained, this was the options that the Rules Committee had. They felt that it was inappropriate to say that the actions committed by Senator Moran warranted no action and were insignificant to the functioning of our body. That is why they chose a censure, not a removal, and that is why the bill is in front of you today. And so it is up to you guys to decide if the actions warranted no further action, and he should not be censured. Further, he missed a total of 7 weeks of office hours. That is almost 2 months of not showing up. So if you deem that insignificant, that is at your discretion. Further, he did miss one unexcused absence to the meeting. That was where the second nonfeasance for his second rules investigation came from. That was a missed meeting. Further, it was not a part of our censure and bill recommendations, but he was seated to a committee and did not show up to those meetings as well. I heard him whisper he showed up to one. On another note, a part of our rules investigations is to reach out, inform the senator that they are being investigated, inform them that they are being served with a nonfeasance. Myself nor Vice Speaker Pursley got no correspondence from Senator Moran about any of those things. He never showed up to either of his rules investigations to plead his case there, and I think that that is an aspect that you all should consider as well. I know that that got kind of funny, but this is pretty serious. These are your duties. This is what you signed up for. It's in your bylaws. You swore in on the day that you started that you would serve the student body. With that, I want you to bear these things in mind. As funny as that presentation may have seemed, to remember that this is the recommendation of the Rules Committee, to consider the facts, consider what you would deem appropriate as a Senate and as a representative member of our student body. With that, I yield.
All right, and so with that, the Senate will have the remainder of the allotted time to debate the merits of the proposed sanction, and we'll go ahead and start with Senator Azan.
Can anyone explain, maybe Speaker Momney can explain what does the censure mean?
So
down for me, yeah.
The censure, I know that this is something new to us. So the options were, again, to address you all and say that the actions warranted no further action, a censure or removal. So a censure bill is basically condemning the actions of an individual and acknowledging that the actions that they did do not represent our student body. It's not the actions that we want our senators to take, and we don't, or any censure bill in general is to condemn the action. So a censure definition is a formal public group condemnation of an individual, often a group member, whose action runs counter to the group's acceptable standards of individual behavior.
Do you think we should do public dismal? I don't know what word did you use?
I have no official opinion. I am a neutral matter. I did not vote on this. Rules did think that it was appropriate to condemn the actions to ensure that people inside and outside of Senate know that these are not what we expect from members of our organization. If you would like a more direct, opinionated, or if a member of Rules thinks that I missed something, they can address it or you can address them.
Okay. One more question. Any specific reason that this brought up last session of student government? I mean, he's missing these meetings for a while, so any specific reason that you just bring up right now?
Yeah, so in the
session.
In the second session, he missed 4 weeks. That's 2 nonfeasances. That investigation led to multiple conversations, like I said. And then this bill was brought forth by 2 nonfeasances occurred. The distribution of those, because of the way that nonfeasances are occurred, so 2 missed office hours is 1 nonfeasance. He got that. And then he missed an additional nonfeasance for our Senate meeting, and so just the way that those panned out in the ways that we have to, first Rules has to select an investigator, that takes a week. Then we have to do an investigation during that next week, and then, sorry, I think I need to take a deep breath. During that next week, Rules discusses the outcomes of that investigation and vote. So that itself is a 2-week process. So after Senator Moran had gotten notified that he had a second nonfeasance, we were already pretty late in our term here. That's why it's the last meeting. It was not purposeful for it to be the last meeting. It's just how things played out when I followed the bylaws.
Awesome. Okay, so my question is to Justin. Can you talk about why, after like so many reminders, you could not make it to the office hours?
Yeah, a lot of times, so I usually do them Friday, and sometimes I would have meetings for like other classes or stuff, and then I'd forget about it, and then it would be too late. So besides that, I really don't have an excuse though.
Okay, but you were reminded multiple times, right?
I was usually reminded like Friday afternoon, yes. Yeah, so both of them were doing their jobs, yes.
Okay. I understand things happen, life, goes on, and there are so many other things. But if you're being reminded multiple times to complete the office hours or the working meeting, again, this is the bylaws that we passed, and I think you also voted probably sometime. So if the senators want to make it funny, that's okay. But I think this is a serious thing in a way that if we want to keep this standard of the organization, we should also respect that. If we are not okay with the office hours, we can amend the bylaws, we can keep it less, But if it's in the bylaws, then we should uphold the bylaws too. So after the investigation, or maybe during the conversation, what was your response? Did you feel, that I'm going to try to come to the office, or what was your response on that?
Yeah, so I think I was notified either the beginning of this week or the week before. So, I mean, this is my like last meeting, so I don't really have room to change. So, yeah.
Okay. I love the idea of like, having this discussion, but I think just because it's the last session and for the public to see as someone, senator just being censored, it's not a good reflection as an organization. Just because of that reason, I'm gonna vote not in favor of this bill. But I understand the thought process, I understand the whole motivation, and I completely agree. But just because it's a last session and there's nothing much that we can do right now, other than just publicly defaming someone for not attending the office hour, this is too strict, in my opinion. Okay, I yield.
All right, everyone. We'll go to Senator Iono Dimoth.
It was mentioned on the Senate floor that Senator Moran never went to his committee meetings. However, as a member of the Local Affairs Committee, I would like to let everyone know that I recall Senator Moran coming to maybe like 3 or 4 meetings, so he did show up, so don't worry about that. I just wanted to clarify. I know it was said that he did not show up at all. He was there sometimes.
Senator Agarwal. Vice Speaker Pursley.
I would just like to say that I think it's almost a worse reflection on our organization if we are not reprimanding individuals for not following the rules. I mean, if we're just going to let anyone not follow the rules and get away with it, even if we're just close to just because it's close to the end of the year, or just in general, let people get away with things just because, I think that's as well a bad look. I think that people need to be held accountable for their actions and do the work that is outlined for them in the bylaws. I yield.
Senator Azan.
I totally agree with the thought process. Just because the timeline is very, very weird, it's a last session, and there's no chance of improvement. So if we are censoring it, there's nothing that we are accomplished as an organization. I understand you want to put this on record, but the minutes of meetings is already a record for us as a student organization. We don't need to publicly defame someone who has served a good amount of time in a student government as a senator, and things happen, life goes on. Just because it's a last session, I think this can be different. My response could be different if it was not a last session, because there are things that we can do. We can talk and we can make sure senator is respecting the rules, but this is the last session and there's nothing much that we can do now. So with that call of question, oh, sorry, I withdraw.
Senator Rolls.
Sorry. I would like to say this is not a decision that rules made very quickly. We spent a while on this decision, and we did take into account that this is the last meeting of the session, but that doesn't excuse the behavior that has happened. Letting it slide is not something we want reflected on our organization, because it's a duty of all senators to do your office hours and go to your meetings and whatnot. And if we're letting that slide, that sets a precedent that we don't want to set. So following our bylaws is what we do in rules, and this is a reflection of that. So I don't think our rules are second to our time limits here, but this is what I feel. I yield.
Senator Agarwal.
First, I want to ask Senator Justin why he did not show up to his investigations.
I think both investigations, I had meetings with one of my businesses I'm running, so I could not make that.
Did you inform the speaker or vice speaker that you would not be able to make those meetings?
No, I did not.
Okay. I think that with the facts that we have in front of us today, this also would reflect well on a bylaw that Rules is trying to change that would essentially limit the amount of non-feasances you can get in your time at student government. And I think that it's really important. I'm just going to echo everything that Eric said. It's really important to stand by the bylaws that we have created, even though it seems like we're running short on time. I mean, I feel this doesn't excuse the behavior that has taken place.
Senator Moyer.
I think it's less about having time to improve and more about setting a precedent, because we need to think about what kind of precedent do we want to set for next term.
Senator Shin. I had you on the list first.
So Senator Razan, you do keep mentioning this is our last meeting, but even if it's our last meeting, we still have to do our job. It's not fair to other senators because everyone else did their job, but Senator Moran did not. So I don't believe that just because it's our last meeting, we should just be saying, oh, we can pass this.
Can I answer that?
Sure, I yield.
I totally agree with you. I think yes, I do agree with you, but it just because if we pass this, that will be on ISU Daily and all the other news outlets, and it is publicly defaming someone. I think that's a very, very strict punishment to give just because someone missed office hours. I do totally agree with you. We should take action in a way that can make an impact to keep the organization better. If we pass this, I do agree that there will be more, fear factor for someone else doing the same mistake. I totally agree with you on that perspective. If we pass this right now, there might be chances that the other senators will do the office hours on time just because things happen in past. I totally agree with you, but I think it's very strict response to just put someone which can be resolved by communication. So I'm gonna yield with that. So if the Senate decide to pass it, I'm totally fine with that too. But I think it's a very strict response to put it publicly.
Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we'll go ahead and move into a vote. It is the implication of the bylaws that this is to be done as a roll call vote. And as a reminder, passage of this bill requires 2/3 of seated senators. There are currently 31 senators seated, and so a 2/3 majority would be 21 required to pass this bill. And again, due to the special nature of this bill, there are no closing comments, so we'll move directly into a roll call vote. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or you may abstain, starting with Iono Dimoff. Moran. Rahman. Rolls. Reinhardt. Marcus. Jones. Pelzer. O'Connor. Shin. Utica. Moisango. Nievenhoven. Kekun. Azan. Kameyer. Moyer. Hartley. Agarwal. Shamsai. Pardon? Thank you. Verriger. Papanikolaou. Snyder. Momini. James. Bailey. Dugan. Neal. Sloop. Pursley. And Cronin. Going back to Kameyer. Dugan. One moment while we check the tally. All right, and so with a final vote of 17 to 1 to 13, the motion does not carry. With that, we'll go ahead and move into general orders, starting first with item 2025-3-002Y, updating the student government bylaws with Speaker Momini.
One moment, I'm trying to get them open. All right, so as has been talked about since the beginning of the third session, the Rules Committee went through chapter by chapter, piece by piece, looked at every section of the bylaws. While I'm sure we didn't do it absolutely perfectly, we tried our hardest to make sure that we left these in the absolute best condition that we could have. We considered all things. One of the things that we considered that I have had some talks with of senators is a section that increases the amounts of duties and responsibilities of senators. This was something that myself and Vice Speaker Pursley had talked to with multiple other schools at the Big 12 conference that we held. Thank you to the events committee. And so that was one of the things that we added in. A lot of the other things were just upkeep, removing things that didn't make sense, removing things that we didn't have, adding things to make everything more cohesive and reflect everything that's in there. So with that, I'll kind of open it up if you guys have any questions about anything.
With that, the floor is open, starting with Senator Jones.
Can you talk more about the cardinal credits, so I guess 1.3.2.87?
Yes, so the cardinal credits is what I was referring to. It was something that the Rules Committee talked about extensively. We considered the feasibility, the implications for senators, and the implications for the speaker and what it would do for the benefit of, I'm sorry, I can't find it, but I'm going to keep on talking. 1.3?
1.3.2.
Okay, so the idea behind it was to increase involvement in student government. I think senators do a lot and they should do a lot, and we should recognize them for that. And so this incentivizes senators to do parts of their job that they should already be doing. It is bill writing, it is tabling, it is additional outreach credits beyond the 2 required outreach credits that you have to get. And that was kind of the ideas that we wanted. Yeah, or creating an online office hour so it can be put on the website and people can reach you during your office hours. It's things like that that go, we want to create a Senate that is not just here maybe to fill out a point on a resume, but is here to better the student body. The point of the Cardinal Credits was to create an environment that says we're here to support the students and we're going to hold each other accountable in the form of these Cardinal Credits.
Senator Azan.
Can you talk about the workload that it will increase the senator in terms of the number of hours? Roughly speaking, how many more hours a senator need to chip in to achieve this?
It depends on how they choose to get their Cardinal Credits.
On average.
On outreach?
On average, how many more hours? Right now, 3 hours, let's say, for Senate meeting, 1 hour for office hours, 1 hour for cabinet meeting. So currently, a senator has to spend 5 hours, roughly, on average. On average, it is more than that, but on average, every week. So adding these cardinal credits, roughly speaking, how many more hours it will add in their schedule?
I believe that Vice Speaker Pursley has a comment.
Okay, so if you look in here, you can select a reoccurring office hour to be put on the website. That's 1 credit. That doesn't take any time besides looking at your schedule and saying, when am I free each week to do my office hour? That's 1 right away out of the way. You can write 2 bills and have 2 more out of the way. And if you really think about those bills and what you're going to put into them, could be from 30 minutes to 2 hours research. I don't really know how long you take to write your bills. Could be more than that, depending on the bill. And you could go and table once and get 2 credits. So I don't really think it's going to be adding that much more. I think it's more about keeping people accountable. I know that you're pretty involved, so I don't think that this would be super hard for you.
Yeah, I totally love the motivation to get everyone involved. But I think, especially the undergrads, they do have very busy schedule. And there are so many things that we already have in our bylaws and the responsibilities that we are, as an organization, is struggling to complete the projects that we have. And adding these extra projects onto the list of the senators will impact the turnover. That's my personal opinion. Again, it's up to the Senate to decide whether they want to take extra responsibility, because I think it's a volunteer work senators do, and they can do more if they have bandwidth. If they don't have a bandwidth, you cannot push someone to do more. That's the whole idea. For example, I have a schedule that is very flexible in this semester. I can do more in this semester compared to the next semester, where my schedule is very tough. And just because if you pass this bill, then it will be compulsory for the senators to do more, which sometimes is difficult for undergrads because they are also taking classes. Yeah, with that, I yield.
Senator Snyder.
I would just like to express my opinion on this particular part of the bylaws. I initially opposed as well such creation. I thought it was redundant as compared to outreach credits, but I had a discussion with our Director of Outreach, Eric, as well as some brief discussions with Speaker Momini, and I think this will achieve a goal of getting a more engaged Senate, which is something I think we can all agree that we want on. Speaker Momini did say to me that the list that is included in the bylaws is not exhaustive of ways to earn cardinal credits, so there are more flexible things in terms of just that list there. So if one of the concerns is because it seems too limiting, they're really flexible about keeping it open. So I yield. Thank you.
Senator Agarwal.
I would like to say that I don't think it's as much of a time commitment if you're actually working towards your cardinal credits in the office hour that you're supposed to. You'd be able to utilize that office hour to work towards the goals that you need for your cardinal credits, and I don't think it would tack on anything extra, but it would make sure that you're fulfilling the duties that you volunteer to fulfill.
Senator Reinhardt.
So I see that tabling is one of the ways that you can get a cardinal credit, and it says 1 credit per hour for outreach. Is there, like, if you have to leave halfway through and there's somebody else to fill your shift, can you get a half credit?
So all credit accumulations as they're set up in the bylaws right now are at the discretion of the speaker. So that would be something to ask in the speaker elections if this passes. Well, that's my answer.
Well, I guess that would kind of negate my next question, but I will ask it anyway. So I guess it would be the speaker that you would go to because Senator Snyder just said that this is not like the exhausted list. If you wanted to get something else put towards your cardinal credit, you would speak to the speaker?
Yes, and there, in case anybody didn't completely read through it, there is a option to object to the decision of the speaker. So that was a safe hold that we put in there to make sure that if a speaker you feel like is being unfair about the giving of cardinal credits, you can go and you can bring it forth to more people.
Thank you guys for working very hard.
Senator Rolls.
Just kind of echoing what Speaker Momini said, and just as well, this is the kind of reasoning we kind of worded it this way, and kind of the things we put on already was so it wouldn't necessarily be a chore, but it should just be getting rewarded for doing your duties, because like it should be something that you should be doing already, and this is to incentivize it. But yeah, just in like as well as credits, if you disagree with what the speaker says, or like, well, if you have any opinions or like this should get a cardinal credit or this shouldn't or whatever, you can just go to the speaker and they should clear that up for you. And like we mentioned, we did have the safe hold to object with the speaker's decision because, well, this is something rules talked about pretty heavily just to make sure that it's fair for everyone and makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I yield.
Senator Marcus.
I just wanted to add the kind of to comment on what Azan was saying. I was initially against this in rules for the reasons you stated. As you know, a first-year student, a first-generation college student, I didn't understand how much of a workload I'd put on myself, especially by joining 4 or 5 clubs, trying to be active in student government, everything else. And so this was a real worry for me because I wanted to be able to come back next year and still be on student government. But after reading through it, working through it, I want to say at least an hour, probably 2, maybe in even separate meetings and outside of meetings, Rules was working on this, especially the current Speaker Momini and Vice Speaker Persley. I know they put a lot of work into it individually. It is very well written, and it is, the way I read it, you could do what you are currently doing as a senator now and get all of your cardinal credits that you need. And it really would not add more than, if I had to guess, maybe 1 extra hour per, is it per semester for cardinal credits, or is it term? I think it's term, right?
In the end of the second.
Yeah.
2 in the third.
Yeah, 3 by the end of the second session and 2 by the end of the third session.
Yeah, and so looking through that, that's why we made it 3 by the end of the second session and 2 by the end of the third session, was just because then it's more possible. And then at most in the second and third session, I would feel that you are putting in an extra hour, which that's pretty much a full 2 semesters where it's only 1 extra hour. I yield.
Speaker Momini.
Yeah, so just to kind of really enforce some things, I did spend a substantial amount of time on this when I first heard it brought up by other universities that they had a system similar. I was really dedicated to making a system in student government where senators were productive, they were being accomplished for the achievements that they were making. And if you think about it, you do about 28 hours in your term, give or take, however many weeks are in our term, you could easily get 5 cardinal credits within your office hour. I have seen many speakers and vice speakers try to make office hours productive, and I have honestly seen them fail. It's really hard to enforce people to be doing things that they should be doing in their office hours. This is a way to make sure that senators are doing things in their office hours. If you post your office hours on the website, you're becoming open to your constituents. If you're inviting people in to talk to them about a resolution or a bill that they think is important, you're doing your job that you're supposed to be doing in your office hour. Our office space is designed to be open to our students. It's designed to be a place for holding conversations about bills. This, in my hopes, what I really envision is that each and every coming senator will take the time to reach out to their constituents, invite them to their office hours, and you could write bills, you could talk about tabling, you could talk about additional outreach opportunities that you could do with, your constituents that they think would be important. This is supposed to be opening a door for you to communicate with your constituents, not a barrier. This could easily be done in the time that you have during your office hours. It was designed that way. It was designed to make everybody be productive and have a productive organization. It was a substantial process, and I thank you guys for asking these questions. I think that they're important. With that, I yield.
Senator Azan.
Okay. I don't know if Claire is sitting there. I'm going to ask a question to Claire. Okay. Claire. Wake up, rise and shine. Awesome. Okay. So there was this, there's this additional responsibility to Chief of Staff about 5 office hours.
Yes, the 5 office hours.
What do you think on that?
I actually think it's a wonderful idea. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also going to be for the Vice Speaker and the Chief Justice. I think given that the Chief of Staff is given more opportunities, such as the ability to go to Big 12 on the Hill, as well as like a larger role in the Big 12 conference, and considering I oversee everyone else's office hours, I'm actually surprised that I only ever had to do 1 office hour, and I think that, while doing 5 is like, shucks, a little less free time for Claire, it probably always should have been that way, and I'm in full support.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, now I have a question for Finance Director. So we do have 2 additional bylaws regarding ISU After Dark and ISU Theater. Can you talk about the classification? Right, previously they had, now you guys are putting it in as a partner organization. So what was the classification previously?
I might still Evans Thunder, but point of information, it's the same classification. We just added them to our bylaws.
Yeah, I was going to say ISU Theater, they've been a sponsor or partnered, organization for like over 15 years.
So
and then ISU After Dark. Yeah, we're just adding it to the bylaws. So previously, Finance Committee had to make that assignment every single year. I think it makes more sense, given how long they've been a partnered organization, to just write in the bylaws as
Awesome.
partnered.
I just want to clarify, maybe you guys are changing it too. Okay. Okay. Can you also talk about the Cardinal Guild account? What's going on there? 8.7.10. Executive Cardinal Guild account.
That was just a little, throwback to our original name. We just wanted to incorporate it somewhere. It's the same account. Nothing's changing other than the name.
The amount, everything is...
Everything is exactly the same. If it was changing, it would be in green or struck through. The only thing that changed was the name. As you may have seen with our Kahoot, our original name was the Cardinal Guild. So we just thought that it would be kind of neat to incorporate that.
Okay. And regarding the 10.2.13.3, the penalties.
Sorry, give me one moment, please.
Yes.
10.2.1.
Yes, this one. Can you talk about more? What was the previous procedure, and now we are making it transparent and public, the penalties?
Yeah, this was something that the Rules Committee also discussed quite a lot. It was that we felt that it was appropriate that penalties that were given should be public, and that students should know, kind of what they're supporting and what they're voting for.
Did you talk to Election Commission on this?
Yes, we.
Okay.
Well.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Okay, awesome. And they were on board on this?
I would yield to, I see an election commissioner over there.
You want to answer? Are you guys fine with that, making it public, the penalties? Okay, awesome, cool. Okay, and 11.3, so are enrolled in classes outside of fall and spring semester. Can you provide a little bit more context on that?
if I remember correctly, somebody from rules correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't actually change anything. We just made it more easy to read and understand. So this is exactly the same. We just rephrased it.
Okay, awesome. Are you?
Senator Neal.
Okay, not to beat a dead horse, conversation went a little different from where we were, but hopping back to the Cardinal credits, I just wanted to say I think this is a really great idea. President Hirsch just stood up here and talked about how we've been working really hard to make student government more efficient, serving the student body, and it is a little easy sometimes to be passive as a senator, and I think this is a really good step in the right direction of making sure that we're all doing what we came here to do and we're all serving our constituents. And just in general, I just want to thank the Rules Committee for taking so much time and putting so much hard work into these bylaws. They look really great, and I appreciate all the work you guys do. I yield.
Vice Speaker Pursley.
Yeah, and a little bit behind me and Alex's thought process on the Cardinal credits is, when we went to the conference, some other schools talked about how they require bills, each senator to pass a bill. And, that was kind of like where the original idea was, but we wanted to create a more broad group of things that senators could complete, because not all senators are comfortable writing bills. So we wanted to make it able to be tailored to what is important to you and what you want to complete. So that's on the Cardinal credits. But then also I wanted to speak on in 1.4.2 and the Vice Speaker's responsibilities. I think it's a great idea that the Vice Speaker should serve a minimum of 5 office hours a week. I'm not sure why it's 1, because I'm usually there more than 5 a week anyway to do my duties. So I think it's really important that the Vice Speaker, Chief of Staff, and Chief Justice all have that equal 5 office hours a week. You may have also noticed that we are now requiring Chief Justice or one of their designees to be at every meeting, every Senate meeting. As you've noticed, a lot of the time during their speaking privileges, they're not here, and we just think it's important that they're at our meetings. I yield.
Senator Kameyer.
I move to remove Senator Moisango from the roll, and then, and I also move to remove Senator Utica from the roll.
Senator Utica, you said?
Mm-hmm. Are you also going? I move to remove Senator Kekun from the roll.
So it's Senators Moisango, Kekun, and Utica.
Yes.
Removing them from the roll. Are there any objections? Seeing none, all 3. We'll do it at once. All 3 shall be removed from the roll.
Okay, I yield.
And we'll go to Senator Rolls.
Not to make anything take longer, but as Mommy said kind of at the beginning, like the main reason we're doing all of these changes to the bylaws is, well, 1, we're required to, but it just kind of make the entire, document itself make a little more sense, make sure things are more clear. A lot of people might have questions of what their responsibilities are, and the goal is to make sure that they can go to the bylaws and see directly what their responsibilities are. We want to make sure that's obvious so there's no confusion, and as well just making sure that people are engaged. Like, being in Senate is, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. And it's like giving back to the organization and contributing, I feel, comes naturally, and it's kind of your duty to represent the students, and doing that to the best of your ability is what we want to see here. And that's kind of the reasoning behind our Cardinal credits, is just to make sure people are incentivized to do their best. So, yeah, and I yield.
Senator Kameyer.
Final shout out to the Rules Committee for working really hard on this, especially for Speaker Momney and everything she was able to do. I called a question.
Moved and seconded to end debate. At this time, are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, any closing comments from Speaker Momney?
I just want to say thank you to the Rules Committee. Again, I came at them with some pretty high expectations. I was pretty fast about the process. I knew that we had a limited amount of time, and they are students before they are senators, but they did a wonderful job helping me get through these bylaws. I certainly couldn't have did it alone. And I also thank you guys for taking your time to look at the document. I hope that it was not as crazy to look at as when we first went through it. And I thank you guys for the questions about the Cardinal Credits program and all the other questions that you guys had. It really is appreciated that you guys are looking at the work that Rules Committee did. So with that, thank you. And I hope that you pass our brand new bylaws.
All right, with that, we can go ahead and move into a vote. So unless there's preference for UC or a roll call vote, I was going to do this as a placard vote. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing these bylaws by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, congratulations to the Rules Committee. The bylaws pass. Next, we'll move into item 2025-3-002 SR with Senator Kammeier.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to speak at the podium again for this one. So I'm going to expect by now that everyone has read through the resolution, and I'll try and make this short. I guess I just think, in general, to have our legislature go out and remove protections against discrimination, which have existed for nearly 20 years, going back all the way to 2007, and especially considering the impact that it'll have on students right now as well as in their future, I think that this action is warranted in that respect. I'm, of course, open to any questions, any suggestions, and yeah, thank you.
With that, the floor is open, starting with Speaker Momini.
Again, what side of history would you like to be on, right? I want to commend Senator Kammeier. It takes bravery, it takes commitment to write a bill of this nature. It takes a lot of courage to step out against your legislature and say that you don't approve what they're doing, not for yourself, but for the constituents that you represent. If you think about the thousands, maybe 1,000, it depends on who you are and what constituents you represent. Anyways, if you think about the people that you're representing, at least one of them is affected by this legislature. They're feeling the effects of it. They're feeling scared. They're feeling like their voices are not being heard. And we need to listen, and we need to tell them that we still support them. Even if at the state level, they're not being heard and listened to, us as representatives of students in and at our university support the struggles and the pain that they're going through. And I just want to thank you, Senator Kammeier, for bringing this bill. While I honestly don't have the courage to put my name on it, I am in full support of it. Thank you.
Senator Azan.
Thank you so much for putting efforts. Again, same idea. I don't want to waste senators' time here to talk about the same thing, but I love that. Okay. For the same reason, I'm not putting my name on the bill, and you know the political environment that we have right now. Okay, so what do you think about making this as an order resolution and maybe sharing a copy of this resolution to the state legislator? What do you think on that? Do you want to comment on that? Right now, we are not sharing the copy to the state legislature that the student government thinks that. How about making it, an order resolution and amending this and sharing it with state legislature? What do you think?
I would provide a point of information. We cannot change the type of bill that it is once it has reached the floor. It is a opinion resolution, not an ordered resolution.
We cannot amend if the Senate agrees.
It is already a certain type of bill. We don't have time to send it back to a committee. We can't change the type of bill.
But he could print it out and give it to.
I guess I do believe that you can add an extra resolve clause if that's what he's referring to.
Then there becomes an issue of what type of bill is it?
Yeah, I mean,
Instead of SR, we can just do SO.
I think
No, we cannot.
The bill can't.
No, we cannot. That is at my discretion. I do not think that you can change the bill type on the floor. It is SR and it will stay SR. That was how it was given to me.
And what about adding the resolve part?
Yeah, I'll say if the Senate feels that that's appropriate, I know that this is kind of the like middle ground answer. But I don't want to like add that to the bill and feel like you all are pressured to have this be sent to the state legislature. So if someone wants to make that motion, they're more than free to do so. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand where Speaker Momney is coming. If we're gonna make that amendment, that will be an order resolution. And so, yeah, with that, I yield, so.
Vice Speaker Pursley.
Sorry, I have to bring it back to where I was when I put my placard up. I think it's really important that we stand up for what we believe in, and I just really want to thank Senator Kammeier for writing this bill and allowing me to co-sponsor it. You know, I think it takes a lot of courage, again, to put your name on something like this, and obviously it's nerve-wracking, and I just think it's really important to represent our constituents and be there for them. I think they've made it very apparent that this bill in the Iowa government is not something that our students or a majority or even some of our students agree with. So I think it's really important that this bill passes. I yield.
Senator Moyer.
I just wanted to say thank you again for writing this bill, and to keep it brief, we can't stay silent. We have to stand up and show that we support our constituents and the people that are affected by this.
Senator Neal.
Kind of echoing what Senator Moyer said, Senator Kammeier, I want to thank you for bringing this bill to the floor today and for everyone who has signed their name on it. You know, at one point it was unfathomable to me that people would be scared to put their name on something like this, and people in this room are scared to share their opinions about things of this nature. So I think it's really important that we as senators and student government representatives and people who represent everyone on campus, that we take a stand and we make sure that we're on the side of history that we want to be on and that we create the world that we intend to.
Speaker Momney.
Sorry, I was limited to a point of information when I was responding to you, Senator Ozon, so I just wanted to address it more clearly. We cannot change it to SO. That does not prohibit this piece of legislation from being sent anywhere. You know, once it's passed, it's official. You don't have to even have a resolved or an ordered clause to do that.
So technically, we can send it to state legislators.
You can send anything you want to your state legislators.
Awesome.
I'm just going to yield right there.
Senator Rahman.
Again, I just want to say thank you, Noah. He has come to Ideas Committee. He came to our multicultural town hall. Noah has been in conversation with me and everyone on this bill and everyone in this room ever since I've been here for a year. Your hard work is the reason why I wanted to join Senate to talk about DEI and everything that comes along with it. So you're a continual inspiration. And regardless if this ever goes to state legislature, I just think it's very important that Iowa State knows where we stand and as a collective. So again, thank you so much. Thank you.
Senator, pardon me, I had Senator Rolls.
Sorry. Despite Noah collecting thank yous like they're Pokemon cards, I'd like to say thank you again. Like we've mentioned before, it does take a lot of courage to put a bill like this up, and especially for everybody co-signing it. I mean, I would have too, but sorry. I do think
Too
it's
late to add your name on it if you want to. It is a motion.
I do think it is really important that we do address concerns like this. They are impacting our constituents regardless of the amount. I don't think the amount should matter. We are here to represent our constituents and their best interests, and I feel like this is representing them in their best interests as well. But I think, like we mentioned before, it is what side of history do we want to be on? Just doing things for the greater good, or just kind of being scared to put our opinions out there? And I don't think we should be scared to put our opinion out there and our voice out there to support the people we're representing, because this is a real concern that people are having. And I feel like that's something we need to validate and talk to people about. But yeah, call a question.
Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, any closing comments with Senator Kammeier?
Yeah, well, I appreciate all the thank yous. I want to say that it takes a lot more courage for the many people who have a different gender identity than what was assigned at birth, and how much courage it takes them to stay in the state and to stay around communities that sometimes can be hostile. I have cousins on my dad's side of the family that I saw for the first time in years, a couple of weeks ago. And they used to live in Iowa. So 2 of them are transgender, 1 of them's non-binary. They moved to Oregon a few years ago because they felt like they were going to be under attack. They were scared of going to school. And I think that that's the courage that I really want to shout out. Thank you.
All right, with that, we can move into a vote. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this motion by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objection, congratulations, the motion carries. With that, we can go ahead and move into item 2025-3-003SR, first read on which has been waived and is now on second read, the Cheers Act with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Firstly, can I motion to change the authors and co-authors as reflected?
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the amendment as shown to properly reflect the co-sponsors of this bill. Are there any objections to that amendment? Seeing none, it shall be made. And we're now back on the bill as a whole.
Okay, so this bill is celebrating our hard work, exemplary efforts, and remarkable service this term in student government. I think we've all done such a great job in student government this year, and I'm so proud of all of us and all of our hard work. I'd like to read this whereas clause because I like it a lot. It says, these wins would not have been possible without the dedication, creativity, and collaboration of our student senators, cabinet members, judicial members, the wonderful MU AV team that helped us through our term, and at-larges, all of whom have consistently chosen to volunteer their time and talents to a cause greater than themselves. So first, just a round of applause for everyone because I think we deserve it. And then secondly, as you see at the end of the bill, as a gesture of recognition to Vice President Margaret, he has been chair of the Senate for 2 terms and has never been able to tie a vote. So we're hoping that we'll be able to let him do the tiebreaker for a tied vote.
Can we have MD Stock as a sponsor of this bill? AD Stock?
That's technically not a point of information, but the answer is yes.
Those are symbolic. They don't actually count as co-sponsors, but there are senators as co-sponsors, which is the rule. No. All right, and so with that, the floor is open, starting with Speaker Momini.
To answer that question, there is a precedent to put members outside of the organization on bills. We've done it multiple times, so there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a little bit of, more gratitude towards them. With that, I would like to start with a motion to add the part in green that Vice Speaker Pursley read. It was not a part of the original bill, so I motion to add the wonderful MU AV team that helped us through our term.
Second.
Moved and seconded to add the amendment to the final whereas clause, recognizing our amazing AV staff. Are there any objections to that amendment? Seeing none, it shall be made. Back on the bill as a whole.
shout out to them again. Technology scares me sometimes. With that, I think it's a wonderful bill. I think the acronym makes it even more wonderful. And yeah, I think that if we could really make a good effort to give Quinn, I think, his biggest wish ever to tie the vote so he can break it, that would be great, and we would appreciate your help in that. And I think it's just a wonderful show of how appreciative the Senate is of not only ourselves, but of everybody else who contributes to student government. I yield.
Senator Azan.
Okay, I'm not in favor of this amendment. Quinn is gonna come back next term as a senator, so technically he can vote. Oh, okay.
I would add that that was on the original bill rather than being amendment as well.
Okay. Well, we're still having a discussion to have a tie, right? So there needs to be some argument to vote no for this bill. So can anyone come up with a better argument to do no on this bill? How are we going to achieve the tiebreaker? Oh, it's symbolic. Okay. Oh, I thought we were going to really have a tiebreaker, and then Quinn will do the vote.
I certainly hope in actuality the bill is not controversial, no.
Okay, so, yeah, I would.
Thank you, Senator Azan, and we'll move to Vice Speaker Pursley.
So there are 28 seated senators right now. We need 14 yeses and 14 nos for a tie. So I would just do like a yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and it should work out.
With that, the floor is open for any further discussion. Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, any closing comments with, I believe, Vice Speaker Pursley? I believe no closing comments? I didn't
Just
catch
pay
that.
attention so you know which one is you.
All right, with that, we'll move into a roll call vote. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or abstain, starting with Iono Dimoff. Yes. Moran. No. Rahman. Yes. Rolls. No. Reinhardt. Yes. Marcus. No. Jones. Yes. Pelzer. No. O'Connor. Yes. Suspense. Shin. Nievenhoven. Yes. Azan. Works for me. Kameyer. Moyer. Moyer. No. Hartley. Yes. Agarwal. Shamsai. Verriger. No. Papanikolaou.
Yes.
Snyder.
No.
Momini.
Yes.
James.
No.
Bailey.
Yes.
Dugan.
No.
Neal.
Yes.
Sloop.
No.
Pursley.
Yes.
And Cronin. Going back to Senator Kameyer. You would be a yes if you wish to continue the pattern. Okay. One second while we tally that up, if we hold on.
vote to a yes.
We do have the ability to change votes before I have started calling off the vote totals. And so, Senator Snyder, what was your vote?
Yes, I'm changing my vote to a yes from now.
All right. And so with a final vote of 14 to 13 to 1, the Senate is equally divided in my interpretation. So, it is. That's how we've been doing it. And so, seeing as the Senate is equally divided, it's outlined in our Constitution and our bylaws that the chair shall be the one to cast the deciding vote. And in proud recognition of everything that everyone has done this term to serve the student body, I proudly vote yes, and the motion carries. Thank you. All right. Thank you all very much for playing ball on that one. So with that, having completed our last item of business for this term, I'll go ahead and open the floor for any general closing announcements. Starting with Senator Kammeier.
Thank you, everyone, for a great year. So next week is Res Hall Week for IRHA. They're going to have a bunch of events, so if you're living on campus, you should totally go to them, especially the Friday event where you get free cups, which look awesome. Brayden does not look proud of me at all for making this announcement. It's so disappointed.
Our Vice President Andrew, this is one of them. So pretty. Go pick them up.
I yield. Senator Rolls.
I would personally like to congratulate Vice President Margaret and President Hirsch. They've done an amazing job completely turning our organization around, honestly. It's completely different from when it was a year ago, and I feel like that's in part to the community that they've worked to establish. So one more little round of applause for them.
Next, Senator Azan.
Okay, again, congratulations to Martin, Quinn, and the whole senators and the cabinet members. This year was more productive compared to the past year, I would say. We have accomplished a lot, and I don't say it lightly. We have done a lot, and there's so much to do next year as well, and I'm super excited for the next year too. And also congratulations and thank you so much for the Rules Committee for putting efforts in. I can literally see the amount of work that you have done in bylaws. It was great, wonderful. The choice of words were amazing. I have seen the bylaws that Eddie did like 2 years ago, and he did brag about this, but you guys did an amazing job this year in bylaws, and you deserve all the thank you. And yes, we made it through. Congratulations to all of you.
Senator Sloop.
First of all, thank you all for a great Senate experience for me. And I'm going to give it off to our favorite person, Mr. Pedisani.
Hello, everyone. Even though I'm not a senator, I have been given speaking privilege now. So I would like to take a moment to congratulate the student body president and vice president on a successful term. Quinn and Martin, you've set out ambitious goals, made promises that seem to be attainable during your campaign for office as student body president and vice president during the spring of 2024. And upon being elected by popular vote by the Iowa State student body, you took office as the newly elected president and vice president and wasted no time getting to work. They hit the ground running by assembling a full cabinet before confirmation and Senate inauguration. Got the ball rolling on their campaign promises immediately as soon as being confirmed, especially on their biggest one, the Campus Concert Act. And this was one of their biggest projects yet to date, and one of the biggest in student government history. Throughout their term, they upheld nothing but the highest of standards of excellence in the student body and student government, transforming the environment into one where students could connect, collaborate, and leave a meaningful impact at Iowa State. President Martin Hirsch and Vice President Margaret have demonstrated unwavering commitment, leadership, putting their all into every step of the way while they were in office, representing Iowa State through both campus and national platforms while advancing their mission to better connect student government with the student body. Where many saw limitations and attainable promises, they saw opportunity, proving the grit, determination, and hard work can turn vision into reality. So I would like all of us to take a moment to extend our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude towards Martin and Quinn for the amazing job they have done this year. I return the mic back to Sloop.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Senator Agarwal.
I would just like to thank ex-Senator Pedisani for that speech.
Senator Rolls.
One more thing I neglected to mention, but I can speak from probably Josie and I, but also Will and Colby. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there and run for president and vice president initially. It takes a lot of time out of your life to let alone run, but getting elected to the position and working to set your goals in motion right away, it shows a lot of dedication and to like the role in student government in general, but just to represent the students. So, I mean, good job, guys. But I yield.
Senator Hartley.
I just really want to take a second to thank Alex and Josie for the hard work that they both have done. They committed to the bylaws, and the rest of rules really did a lot of work, but Alex and Josie were at the forefront of all of that, and I really appreciate all of the work that they've done, and I really appreciate Alex's end of her student government career. I haven't known you for very long, but you're really inspirational, so thank you guys a lot for all of the work you guys have done this year. If we could give them another round of applause.
Senator Moyer.
I just want to echo what everyone else has said. I don't have an essay like Pedisani, but I joined student government late back in February as a senator, and I felt more welcomed in this organization than I have ever felt in the past. I just want to say thank you guys for creating an amazing atmosphere and putting in the work that nobody sees.
Senator Azan.
Last thing, sorry guys, I literally forget that. Some of us are graduating as well, so if you are graduating, can you shake? Oh, I don't know, put your hands up. Okay, awesome. So congratulations to you, all of you for graduation. This probably will not be the last time we are seeing you. Hopefully we will see you in graduation, during the time of graduation. And friendship is very, very important. And I think we also need to understand we have to respect the position that we are, and we have to follow that too. Some incidents I do feel like we have to work on certain things, regardless of friendship and everything, but that is a learning thing to work on as a senators too. Thank you.
Senator Pelzer.
Okay, there we go. So I just want to say, fortunately, unfortunately, I am graduating, so I won't be joining you all again next semester. But as my piece of parting advice from somebody who was fumbling through figuring this out all semester long, I came into student government as a write-in. I was the only person who voted for myself, and I was forgotten during the banquet. But, you know, nevertheless, I felt so brought in by this organization. I learned so much. I am so glad I joined. And my cheesy piece of parting advice to all of you would be, believe in yourself. even when nobody else does, because that's the most important person.
Senator Jones.
Me and Senator Neva Homan just want to say shout out Finance Director Martinez for dealing with us. You dealt with all of our nonsense, and so just thanks. I yield.
With that, are there any further general closing announcements? All right, seeing none, thank you all. I can go ahead and go into my closing announcement here. And I think for the first time, I have nothing to remind you of. I don't have any forms that I need you to fill out. I don't have anything that I need you to pick up or return. And I'll speak a little bit more at inauguration, but I wanted to make sure I said before we ended tonight that it has been an incredible honor to serve as chair of this body. I've really enjoyed every moment of being here, and I think the reason I have is because all of you. I mean, everything we do is a collective effort, but at the same time, you all have started and finished projects this year that are going to help students for years to come. You've passed legislation that's important and had really critical discussions. You've invested in resources and events and things that, again, are going to benefit the student body for a long time. But more than that is I've seen a lot of passion in all of you. The first time that I was appointed to vice president originally, I wasn't elected the first time around, and so I had to stand in front of Senate and talk about why I should be chosen for vice president. And what I chose to talk about there was volunteerism, about how that's the most important resource we have, and the steps that I saw we needed to take in order to get back to an organization where people are volunteering, where people are passionate and they care. And it's been such a pleasure to see you all uphold those values to the fullest extent this year, to see all of you do these things that you don't have to do. It's 9:19 p.m. on a Wednesday, and all of you are here doing this. You're doing the work that matters. You're volunteering, I think, as President Hirsch said in his remarks, your time and your talents to be here. And for those of you who are graduating, it's been a pleasure to work with you. And on behalf of the student body, we really thank you for your service in the Senate. For those of you who are returning, even though I won't be sitting in this chair, it'll be a pleasure to keep working with you all next year. And I'm glad that you've decided to continue serving students. And so I'll talk a little bit more at inauguration, but it's been an incredible honor to serve as this chair. I'd like to thank you all for the work that you've done, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for the continued opportunity to serve. So with that, for the last time, I yield to the Vice Speaker.
I would like to say that I want to thank you all for entrusting me as your Vice Speaker. I'm so grateful to have served in this position. I'm so grateful for Speaker Momini for being such a big role model to me, and I've had so much fun getting to work with her and getting to lead this Senate with her. And I'm so proud of all of you senators. I think we've done such a great job this year and created such a good atmosphere. And I'm just thankful for each and every one of you and all the hard work that you've put into the Senate this year. I think it's really important. And I would like to thank our other chief officers. You know, it's been great working with you all, and I'm excited for what's to come. I yield.
All right, y'all, please don't run away and pack up on me now if you're bored of the discussion. I don't know. Just pretend like you're paying attention, please. I want to say thank you all. Of course, you guys, 12 of you guys, selected me to be your speaker at the beginning of the term, and it took a lot of trust. And the people who came along allowed me to continue to be your speaker. I couldn't have done this position. I couldn't have done all the things that I did with the efficiency that I did them if you guys wouldn't have trusted me with this role. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate my vice speaker. She was immensely helpful in anything that I needed help with. I appreciate our advisors for the advice and the guidance that they gave me, and I'm sure many of you throughout the term, for the chief officers and the discussions that I was able to have with a wonderful group of people. Each and every one of you are exemplary senators, even in your flaws, even in mistakes that you've made or shortcomings that you've had. You still were honest, you were upholding, and I could not have imagined a better Senate this year. After sitting through 3 of them, I've seen a lot of questionable Senates, and I'm proud to say that my last year here on student government has been a phenomenal one. And I really thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to be your speaker, and it's been an honor to serve you all. With that, for my last time, motion to adjourn. Go Cyclones.
Thank you all for a great year. The Senate is adjourned.